Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Khan. I'm the Transfer Resource Specialist, and today I will be talking about how to recover from a bad quarter. So the main things that we'll be covering today are learning from self-reflection, so looking back at what you did bad, what you did well, and kind of growing from that. I'll talk about my experience of recovering from a bad quarter. I promise I've had a few through the last few years. We'll talk about the importance of self-care and making sure that you prioritize your mental and physical health. And lastly, I'll mention some resources that you can reach out to um, for help if you ever need it. So just a couple of gentle reminders before we start. Everyone experiences a bad quarter at least once. I promise it's a pretty universal experience. Just remember that a bad grade or a low GPA doesn't define you. It doesn't mean that you aren't cut out for engineering. From what I've learned over the last few years, it's not so much about getting to the right answer. It's more about developing a way of thinking about problems and finding a way to approach that. And lastly, imposter syndrome can feel lonely. It may seem like you're the only one struggling. But I can assure you at least one other person is feeling the same way. I'm right here as an example. It's something that I struggle with, to this day, and I'm a senior. So, I promise you that, you're not alone in that. So you had a bad quarter, you get your grades back, and it's really easy to feel down. But take a breather, think about why you may not have done as well as you wanted. Maybe you didn't have enough time to study, or you didn't do enough practice problems. Maybe you just struggled with some of the concepts. So try and pinpoint your areas of improvement and see what you can do to build on. For me, for example, I knew that it was time management. I didn't handle my time well that quarter, and so I came back the next quarter with 3 different calendars. And that's how I used to kind of keep myself on track. Don't just focus on the bad stuff. Think about what you did well too, and give yourself a pat on the back. You deserve credit for that. Then think about, what you did differently that led to you doing better, and see if you can apply that in the areas where you're struggling. And lastly, take a second look at your course load. As STEM majors, we can often feel like we have to do it all in order to be successful. And sometimes you can put more on your plate than you're able to handle. So make sure that you're always allowing yourself time off, and that you're not biting off more than you can chew. And if you are, maybe think about cutting back, or think about devoting your time to different things in different ways. So I also wanted to share my own experience. My very first quarter at UCI was my worst. I'm a transfer student, and so coming in and switching to quarter system, and on top of that, taking my first ever engineering course was a lot. It was really overwhelming. I don't think I've ever done that bad in my classes before, and I remember immediately feeling like maybe I wasn't cut out to be a chemical engineer. But then I reached out to some people in the class that I knew, and they confirmed that I wasn't alone in feeling like that. And I think knowing that it wasn't just me, I took a minute to think about what I could have done differently. So my advice to you would be this: plan your week out in advance. Like I said, a big area of improvement for me was time management, and I bought quite literally 3 different planners. I have a small one that I use for weekly things. I have a desk calendar that I use for day-to-day things, and then I have a wall calendar that I use for the whole month. So plan out your week in advance. If you're assigned something on Monday and you have a week to do it, figure out what you're going to do on each day of the week. Don't start on the Sunday before and try to finish it all in one day. Break it into parts and chip away at it. Make a study group. As engineering majors, a lot of our classes are in series, so we're with the same people throughout our time at UCI. And forming a group of friends is not only great for having people to study with, but it's also just a source of support, because the people in your classes understand what you're feeling better than those who are outside of your class might. And lastly, ask for help. We often feel like we have to figure things out on our own, and that's just not true. Your TAs and your professors are there for you, and there are a ton of other really great resources on campus that are available to help as well. And I'll mention a few of those at the end. So I also wanted to highlight the importance of practicing self-care. The 10-week quarter can often feel like you're going nonstop with no end in sight. And around week 5 or 6, that burnout really hits. So take breaks. you need to eat, you need to give your brain time to shut down and relax, and you don't need to be doing something every single second of the day. That's something that I do. If I'm, watching TV and it's 3 p.m. and I have a homework assignment to do, I feel so guilty. But I force myself to watch that TV because I know that I need the break. If you can, regulate your sleep schedule. I used to be that person that would stay up until 4 a.m., wake up at 8 a.m., and do the thing all over again for, weeks on end. And I quickly realized how terrible of an idea that is. It made me do a lot worse in my classes, and I was never fully there, honestly. So make sure you're getting as much sleep as you may need, and try and set a hard stop every night and have some time to wind down from the day. Remember that your academic performance is directly affected by your mental and physical health, so take care of yourself. It's really important that you do that. So just to highlight a couple of those resources that I mentioned, there's a student health center. You can reach out to them to make an appointment with a therapist or with anyone that you may want to talk to. There's also the Transfer Student Center. So this is a center that's for us. They have a ton of great workshops that they host. They have a ton of great different programs that you can join. So reach out to them if you want to talk to an advisor or anything like that. The peer academic advisors are there through the engineering undergraduate affairs office. You can talk to them about any classes that you may want to take to make up for something. They're here to give you advice on your classes and your course progression, basically. Clubs and organizations, if you're able to, join a club. So for example, for me, this is my cat, Gracie. She wants you to take care of yourself too. So for me, I'm a chemie, and I joined AICE, which is the Chemical Engineering Club, essentially. And it was really great being able to connect with not only people in my class, but also upperclassmen. And they were able to, give us some tips about how to get through next year's classes or the next quarter's classes. So almost every engineering major has a club dedicated for that major. So, try and find yours and join. Other, broader engineering clubs like SWE, for example, are really great as a source of support. You can send a message in the chat and say that, hey, I didn't do so well in my classes this quarter. Does anyone have any advice? And like 10 people will message you and give you the best advice you could ever need. So definitely try and join some clubs or organizations. Last but not least, there's me, the transfer resource specialist. I'm a transfer student. I know exactly what it's like to go through what we go through every day. And I host a lot of great workshops, and I host social events. So if you ever need any advice about basically anything, just reach out to me and I can help you in the best way that I can. So thank you. I hope that this was helpful. I hope it calmed your nerves a little. As always, if you have any questions, please email me for any advice or just to rant or whatever you may need. Definitely reach out to me, and I hope this helps. Thank you, guys.